You're listening to People Think About It. Delve into the world of relationships, business, and politics with hosts Lamar Clark, Dorshell Clark, and Dominique Hagler on People Think About It, where thought-provoking discussions abound.
Hey. Welcome back to People Think About It. We're glad y'all here to see here on about another Wednesday. We got a special guest in the studio today, Rashida Rozier from Passaic, New Jersey, that lives down here in the ATL right now. And, we met her this weekend, and we came up with some striking information and some conversations. So we just thought today we would just talk about what life is after the divorce. You know, is how grand it is? Do you miss it? What happens if kids and stuff is involved and stuff like that? So let's get to it. Miss Rashida. So tell us about how long were you married before you got divorced?
I was actually married for 19 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So 19 years of marriage, and so you at a state where do you feel like that was a wasted 19 years, or do you feel like you learned something out of those 19 years that you can take to another relationship or another marriage if that happens?
Absolutely. I don't feel like it was a waste of time. I had two beautiful children. I have a daughter who's 27. I have a son who is 16. So I love both of my children. And, they were definitely a blessing. I learned a lot throughout the marriage, right? With marriage, it's good and bad, right? Marriage is good and bad when it leads to divorce.
Right.
Right, and so you're going to have some good seasons, some bad seasons, unfortunately. But when it was good, and I take everything as as a lesson. My husband, he introduced me to a lot of things, such as real estate. Okay. So I'm very risk averse, and he was very risky. Not that he was necessarily risky, but he took chances, and he wanted to build our wealth, and and he did that through real estate, and he was very successful at it. So, whereas I was a little bit more like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? What if this happens? What if this fails? Get the mortgage and everything. But it worked out. So we were able to obtain a few properties. We have 4 actually in total. A family, a 2-family, a 2-1 family, 2 in his name, 2 in my name. But he likes to renovate and flip. Right. And me, I'm more stable.
Right. So that means you have like 2 different outlooks when it comes to this marriage. But let me ask you this, because this question gets asked a lot. You know, when we take our vows, we say it's for good, for richer, for better, for worse, to death do you part. So basically, no matter what your struggle is or what you're going through, that some way, somehow, you get your point, you got to try to figure it out. So right. How do you go through 19 years and all of a sudden figure out the end is here? You go your way, I go my way.
Because you've had years of you've had years of highs and low seasons, right? You had years of a certain person doing a certain thing, and if he didn't want to, he wasn't as invested in it at the end as I was, because I loved him. I wanted him to overcome some of his unfaithfulness.
Fidelity, is that what you want? Infidelity or whatever.
Yes, I wanted him to kind of overcome those things, and I stuck by his side, throughout the marriage, and it happened a few times, and the last time it happened, it was just I don't want to say unforgivable, because I did forgive him, and I would have and I would have stayed, right? So we would have had to work through it together.
Right.
And I don't think he was as invested in the end. Right. And he was surprised when I realized that I decided to walk away.
So in the midst of walking away, or making that decision to walk away, did he realize I had messed up, or hey, now it's time to fight? Did any of that come about?
He did, but
it was too late.
It was too late, and the fight was more of control as opposed to submission, or him taking accountability for his actions, and him, seeking therapy, or even just submitting to God's will for his life.
Right.
So when I noticed that those things weren't.
Do you ever think that when people go through marriage, like the years they invest, the time they invest, the love they invest, and even after a certain amount of years, whether it's 10 years, 5 years, 19 years, and then you divorce, and let's say you divorce and you've been separated and divorced for 10 years, do you ever think that the flame can be rekindled to that person to come back in your life?
Yes, I do believe that. I do believe that for other people. In fact, I am such a proponent for love. Like, I'm just like this little hopeless romantic. I love to see couples that truly love each other, reunite.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's my story. I don't think that's how it's going to end up for me.
I mean, but, like sometimes, people can realize what they lost, and sometimes they have to go on another journey to realize what they lost.
Right.
But then in the midst of going on that other journey, they realize I have to change, and that's why I was just curious, like in the midst of that change, you can change to be a better human being.
Right.
And in the midst of changing to be a better human being, I understand that, the battle that you had to cause this journey to go different ways. But if you saw that change in that person, could it be opportunity to reconciliate? Because sometimes, like in the word, it says to separate to reconciliate. So do you think that could be possibly not necessarily picking on your situation, but do you think that could be a healthy situation?
Yes. For instance, if we use somebody who's kind of in the limelight, Ashanti and Nelly, right? They were together. They were a great couple. They separated for 10 years and they reconciled.
Right.
And now they're having a baby. They're engaged, and it looks like they're about to live happily ever after. And we hope, right? Yeah. That's their story. And I know a few people like that, and it worked out for them. Just in my situation, it's a little different. There was a little domestic violence involved and things like that. And, if a man doesn't have emotional intelligence and they had an opportunity to try to go to therapy and try to regain it, and they wasn't willing to at that time, and they still haven't, and then I'm not going to make that investment.
I understand that, because I think that people have to get to a point of change. And if you don't come to that point of change, there's no use to reinvest. Yes. But if I see separation, and I made a journey in life, you made a journey in life, and then somewhere down the line, like you were just saying, Nelly and Ashanti, somewhere down the line we see we can reunite because we have growth now. Because sometimes people get married for the wrong reasons. Sometimes people get married too young. Some people, like you said, they don't have the emotional intelligence to be married. And I think that sometimes, like even dealing with churches, sometimes I think church puts marriage on people and they're not ready for it. It's because, it's a godly thing. Or God says this, or God says that. And, you can go into the church and they like, oh, well, you live with this man or you live with, but you don't know our situation. It doesn't necessarily mean we in here fornicating. We, the way the world is today and the cost of living there, we in here trying to survive. Lord knows trying to fornicate and all that, we trying to survive. You know what I mean? And in the midst of trying to survive, the church don't understand that. Well, you guys are fornicating and you don't know what the heck we doing in our household. But you put that pressure on people, and then when you put that pressure on them, you creating a disaster because mentally they're not ready for it. Right. And you can go through, they tell you, well, let's go and we're going to have marriage counseling classes and stuff like that. But I think where the church misses it at is, even though you go through marriage counseling, but you're mentally not prepared for it. They call themselves getting you mentally prepared for it. But if you're not mentally prepared for it, the counseling is worthless. Yeah. Because if my mindset is, I'm still going to run with my buddies and I'm still going to go to the strip clubs or the clubs, or even it could be vice versa. It could be, the woman feel like I'm still going to run with my girlfriends. I'm still going to go clubbing. I'm going to do this. So it could be vice versa. But it's showing that these people aren't ready for this. Yeah. They're more mentally ready for, we in here surviving. You know what I mean? So I think that a lot of churches need to attack the issue where it's at. Right. Instead of trying to force me into something that you think that God would like. Because first of all, if the person doesn't have God, then you're trying to put something together that ain't going to work in the beginning. You understand? So how do you feel about that?
Well, I agree with you that the church is sometimes I agree with you that the church is sometimes force marriage on people when they're not ready, and they go through a couple sessions of counseling, which I think counseling should be long-term therapy. Yeah. Right. Marriage is a sacrifice, and I believe that when you're going through marriage, you have to really have a real deep relationship with God.
Right.
Right. And when you're honoring God and you're in a relationship with God, then you can love yourself enough to sacrifice for that person, for your wife.
Yeah, because
you want to do the right thing.
Marriage is a total sacrifice. Marriage is probably one of the hardest things you're ever going to do in your lifetime, because it's always about giving. And it's not giving of yourself, it's always giving. It's giving of yourself to another person. And you always got to, compromise. You always got to have some kind of understanding. Well, I know you're having a bad day. Oh, well, I'm that, and sometimes you can look through two different lenses, right, where one person may feel like this is working and the other person feel like it's not. Mm-hmm. So when you at that point, it's just like, you gotta find that neutral ground, and until you find that neutral ground, you fighting a battle. You fighting a battle because one person feel like, I need this. It's like we talk sometime about the 5 love languages, right? And I guess it's getting to know your person's love language. Uh-huh. And your person getting to know your language. Then it comes to the compromise. How do we make these two things come together and work? Right. So in saying that, and being married 19 years, what would you say your love language was?
My love language is acts of service and quality time.
Okay, so like when we did the love language thing, when they said acts of service and quality time, I kind of didn't understand, because I thought that's what I had to dish out, but they saying that's what I desire to have. Uh-huh. The acts of service and quality time. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was because I'm a giver. I totally give. And sometimes even my wife will say, you know what, you're always trying to rescue people, you're always trying to save people, you know what I mean? This, that, and the other. Sometimes she's on me for that. But I just feel like that's part of my calling in life, because life is totally about a sacrifice, and then, when you're out there saving others, and that person that you're married to feel like you ain't trying to save me, that's the problem. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Because you kind of know your calling is to save people. And then if you're out there saving someone, then you expect for your mate to understand, hey, I'm doing this for the goodness of who I am, the goodness of God, Right. And that's hard to understand, because it causes conflict, because then that mate feel like there's lack of. Everybody else getting the love and I'm not. Right. You know what I mean? And
you're always depositing in everybody else, and so by the time you get to your mate, you have nothing left. Right. you have nothing left. And so I can understand why it is.
So you're a giver too.
I am a giver too.
And would you say that when you were married, that person understood that you were a giver?
He understood that. He was a giver too.
Oh, so y'all two of a kind.
We were.
Well, so that worked out pretty good. So at any point, did you feel like you lacked in knowing that this person is a giver?
No, I'm more rational, right? So he'll give without thinking, okay, well, I just gave them my last, so what am I going to do? You know?
Right.
So I'm a giver, but I'm always thinking about, okay, I can only give what I can afford to lose, and then I can give service, right? I'm not constantly, giving service and doing special things for people. I think that, I'm blessed to be a blessing to others. That's kind of like my motto. That's what I think about myself. I help my family a lot. I help my friends and stuff like that. But for him, I think that was the same for him, but there was no limit for him.
Right.
So, for instance, right, family members would come and live in our house. We owned it, but we still have mortgage to pay. So everybody can come live free.
Well, they would have been living in one of those. They would have been in one of them living in there flipping. I mean, while I'm flipping, you living here while I'm flipping, because you know what I mean. But I always say this, and I say this a lot to not just my wife, but to people. I always feel like give from the heart, because if you give from the heart, whether you appreciate it or not, I know I did it from my heart. Mm-hmm. And I do it with no expectation, because, like some people in the marriage, they do things, and I'm doing it because I'm looking for something in return, and you get to the point, like we said, that, I'm a giver, and then when it comes to you feel like you're not getting anything deposited into you, you know what I mean? And then that person is giving, well, I'm paid. You know what? I'm doing the best that I can. I'm giving you all that I got, and then understanding that you say you're giving all you got, but you didn't gave it away, right? So I think that it takes a strong person to understand that you have to understand who you're dealing with. You have to understand sometimes that you when you're giving and you're a giver too, that sometimes you give into the situation and maybe it comes back in return.
Yeah. Well, it always comes back in return. It always comes back tenfold. But I still feel like that sometimes there has to be boundaries, because when it's at the, end of your very own family, then you have to, you kind of have to step in and say, hey, I don't think we can do this.
Right.
We may need to consider that.
So in being married, not just integrating you and a mate, how do you integrate the family, the mother-in-law, the children? Because some people come to marriage already had children, and you got the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, cousins, and all. How do you feel like you integrate all that to make it a strong family?
Yeah, I'm very family oriented. I come from a pretty large family. My grandmother has 7 children, and each one of her kids, with the exception of one, only has 2 children. So all of my cousins, we all kind of grew up together. We're more like sister and brothers and cousins. And most of my aunts and uncles are still with us.
So when you got married, did your husband, he welcomed that in? And did you welcome his family in?
My family welcomed him in with open arms. He became more like my grandmother's son, more like my mom's son. And he did a lot of sacrificing for my family, because that's just kind of who he was.
Right.
And his family, unfortunately, they lived far away. They lived in Texas, whereas we were based out of New Jersey at the time. So we would go visit every year and stay there for a week. But I'm a very kind of loving, family-oriented person. So he had kids. He had 2 kids.
That he brought into the marriage.
And his kids, we went to get custody of his kids. The judge granted him joint custody. So they were with us 2 days a week, and on the weekends treated them as if they were my kids, and I didn't want them to lack anything.
Right,
So,
right.
whatever we did for my daughter, we did for them, so that they never felt slighted. I wanted them to feel like they got everything. She got the same opportunities that life. My daughter went to private school when they came to live with us. They went to private school.
Right.
They cheerleaded and played football and all. We made it happen. We walked up.
So in a sense, I mean, from what you shared in the beginning, it's like I've seen a gateway of opportunity here where it could have, like, we're gonna work on this because you say your daughter is 26.
She's 27.
27, and your son is 16. Mm-hmm. That's 10 years, almost 10 years apart, right? Yeah. So there was some hope at one point in time.
Yeah, we were still married. There was hope.
Because I'm saying you got children that's 10 years apart,
right?
And most of the time when you see things going down a bad road, you be like, man, I ain't trying to make children with this joke. I ain't trying to do this with this joke. I ain't trying to do this joke. But then you pop up and say 10 years later, hey, we're gonna have another child. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
things were still kind of good then.
Oh, okay.
Right. They were still kind of good. It fell apart after my son was, actually, I think he was 1 year old when he told me one of the worst decisions of his life.
And regretted to this day.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. But I tried to hold on, and I didn't leave until maybe 3-4 years after that.
So let's talk about how did you feel about friendship after the divorce? Like the person you were married to, could you possibly, like just a friend, have a friendship relation with them, even though the marriage didn't work?
Yeah, I am a friend to him because I feel like I was with him for more than half of my life. And I knew him better than anyone else did. I knew that I was his peace, right? And I always want to see him do his best and at his best. And
I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Because, some sisters, once it's over, I'm going to destroy you. You know what I mean?
No, he's like that. And he felt that way about me.
Well,
he tried to destroy me, but he couldn't because I'm a child of God.
Right. So, Rozier is your married name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's like I have a friend of mine. He was married. He used to be my business partner, and his last name was Scott. And he used to always joke, because what made me think about it, you said you was with him more than half of your life, and sometimes it would be a joke. Him and his wife would get into a little bickering, and he was like, I forgot what her last name was, but he was like, you've been a Scott longer than you, but let's say Johnson. Yeah. You've been a Scott longer than you've been a Johnson. So how you going to say he and say that? So your birth last name, you've been your married last name, you was more of a Rozier than whatever your name was before you got married. You know what I mean? And I used to laugh about that. I was like, man, that's kind of crazy when you think about it, that I took on somebody else's last name, and I've been that more than I've been my family's last name. Mm-hmm. Wow. How did you feel about that?
That's true. Oh, I never thought about it like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, because when he used to say it, they'd be playing and joking and stuff like that. But he was like, yeah, you better get out of my face. You've been a Scott longer than you. And they started laughing about it. And I was like, wow.
That's very true, though.
That's so, and you still carry that name.
I still carry that name. It has a better jingle than my maiden name.
So you're gonna be like Tina Turner. When Tina Turner walked in, he can have everything except his name. I didn't build his name. He can't even have his name. Tina said, "Hey, Turner is my last name. I don't give a darn what y'all say. I can't take that back." But you know what? Even when you think about it from that perspective, right? Even though I think Tina Turner was famous, right? She really took what was so-called a negative by having his name longer than she had to own it, but she turned it to success.
Yeah.
I turned Turner into an empire. You know what I mean? So that means you can turn Rozier into an empire.
Hey, that's the
goal. You can have everything. Take them houses, cars, you can have a bank account, but this last name, you ain't getting back.
That's kind of what I walked away with.
So that's a powerful thing when you think about it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. and I think because, like I said, I spend more than half of my life with him. That's why I feel so vested in his future. Like
Right.
you can, you may have walked through the darkness, but you can come out of it. And if he ever needed anything from me, which he does
From time to time, yes.
I'm always there.
But I think that's a good thing, and the reason why I think it's a good thing, because even though you break up with somebody, divorce somebody, or whatever, maybe it just ran its course.
Yeah.
And I think there's no reason to be that person's enemy. I understand collateral damage. I understand domestic violence and all that. But to me, when people call themselves a child of God, and all God ever did was forgive, and give you the opportunity to forgive, and give you the opportunity to repent. Right. That's all He ever did. And if we're supposed to be in His image, and we're supposed to be God-fearing and God-like, then we got to learn to forgive. In spite of what somebody might have done, in spite of you crushed my dreams, in spite of, I've been with you more than half my life, and now it's over, you got to learn somewhere in your heart to forgive, because I think when you don't forgive, you block your own blessings. I truly believe that. I truly believe you block your own blessings, because the Lord says, bring you, and that's what you got to remember. In spite of, I know in the flesh, in the human world, we want vengeance to be mine. You know what I mean? Because I want to see that joker, he or she, I want to see him suffer. Because that's what they made me do.
I don't. I pray.
That's the good thing. So what message to these listeners out there when people think about it as a black woman, because we know we got a lot of bitter black women, what would be your message to them in the midst of their turmoil or the midst of their downfall? What would you tell them or share with them so they can keep loving, so they can keep loving and not put everybody in one basket? Like, some people are like, well, he hurt me so bad, and then you become bitter to all men, or she hurt me so bad, and you become bitter to all women. But it's that particular person that did that to you. It's not what I did. Mm-hmm. What message as a black woman would you give on how to keep loving?
Mm-hmm. So I think whatever you go through, if you're going through, point of contention with your partner and your husband, it is the season. Okay, it is not the end of the world. And sometimes when you are facing adversity, you think that your world is coming to an end because you don't know how you can live without this person. So if I talk about my own situation, I never paid bills. He paid all the bills. I only had to pay my own car payment and for my boy's school. That was the extent of my bills. But yet I was working an $1 million project. So I was like, okay, Lord, the Lord has spoken to me, and He said, Rashida, this is it. It is time for you to walk away and stand on your own 2 feet. So I finally built up the courage, and I walked away, dealing with no eviction, living in the same house and everything. And when I tell you, making that decision at that time was probably one of the best decisions that I made. Was it hard for me? Yes, because I was reminded of everything that we were going through constantly all day. I think I shared with your life. I worked from home, and in my office, I would write down all of the positive Bible verses or whatever the Lord says you are.
Right.
And I would write that on my walls, and I would turn around, and every time I had a thought, I would.
So you constantly create a positive energy for yourself.
Yeah. My first 3 months after leaving, God blessed me with a $30,000 raise. That's unheard of. Be with the same company and then to give you a $30,000 raise in the same company. Okay. And then after that, I got a certification and I got another raise. Then I left the company and I got another raise. It's hard. It's even hard for me to process the things that happened to me that were so positive after I left. But if I would have stayed in that place of darkness, I could not have foreseen the future or could not have prepared for the blessings that God,
showered you with. Yeah.
Right, was giving me. And I feel like, I went to church, I went to therapy, I surrounded myself with positive people. I also listened to I turned off any secular music and I listened to gospel music. And it was really life changing for me. Everything I read, I tried to do everything around me at that time had to be positive to just drown out the negativity. And that kind of helped shape my frame of mind and reference. Um, Sometimes you need support. For me, my grandmother was my best friend.
Right.
So I would call her. I never tell her what was going on. And I would just call and hear her voice, and that would just kind of give me the strength that I needed to kind of push through, and having my kids there, of course. So I would just tell everybody to be strong, to know that it is just a season, and you can push through, you can pull through, and just lean on the promises of God.
Right.
Lean into Him, develop your relationship with Him, build your relationship with Him, and He will bless your life if that is what He wants for you to do in terms of walking away from your relationship. Yeah.
So one of the questions, and I think we all have, is that when you're walking away from a bad situation, you have those negative girlfriends, and they, girl, you should have been left him. He's no good. This, that, and the other. And one of the things that you said, I think, is really great, that you surround yourself, even fed yourself positivity, because I'm quite sure, like I say, you probably had some of those negative girlfriends that were feeding that negative energy too, because whether they knew the situation or not. But I think that when you are in a lonely place, you have to center yourself on God, because if you begin to listen to flesh, which are other people, then sometimes, like you said, you're going to get somebody, just like you just said, hey, not that I called my grandmother for advice, I called because that was that positivity that was going to come to me, And then a lot of times, when you get the negative friends around, and you should do this and you should do that. And the thing about it is, some of them jokers in the same situation, and what they telling you to do, they won't even do.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I always use this little cliche. You know how people talk to you and say, if I were you, but that's the greatest thing. You ain't me. You ain't me. You know what I mean? Because they constantly use that. If I were you, if you were me, then you'd be doing the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
If you were me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, I always joke with my wife. And I told her, as soon as I find that joker that joker they call Daysay, because ain't nobody know who Daysay is. Because when I find Daysay, it's going to be a problem. Because, they always say, girl, Daysay, who in the heck is Daysay? This joker Daysay been causing problems for a long time.
Right.
So we're going to find out who Daysay is one time. You know what I mean? But it's good that you can share with the world that, hey, no matter what my battle is, I'm going to find love some kind of way. I'm going to find forgiveness some kind of way, because in the long run, it's about me.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't about what you think, what you say. It ain't about they say or all that kind of stuff. But you have to get lost in you, and getting lost in you is having that self time to you, that meditation time to you. You know what I mean? And I do strongly believe in that. Anything that you're going through, I think the first thing you have to do is get rid of negative energy. Mm-hmm. Because it seems that negative energy processes faster than good energy.
Always.
Because it's easy to be sad, it's easy to get up under the covers and stay there and all that. But positivity can make you get up and move. Mm-hmm. And when you're sad and when you're defeated or feel defeated, you're like, I'm just going to stay here. I'm just going to let it. But it's almost like, like the man that set aside the water. Right? So, in, partner. You just laying here ain't gonna get it. You gotta get up.
Right.
You have to get up. And it's just like they say, faith without works is dead. And a lot of people don't understand that. Because faith without works is dead. You gotta move. You have people that sit around and just pray. And that's all they do, sit in that one place and pray. They never move. So when you never move, nothing's gonna happen. Because I don't know, some people think God's gonna fall out the sky and fix my situation. You know what I mean? But if he dwells within you, it's already there. You know what I mean? But I need you to move. I can't let you just sit here and mourn. You know what I mean? It's just like when you go to a funeral or work, they say we're going to a mourn. That joker ain't moving. That joker just stiff as a board, ain't moving. It's done. But I need you to move. So this here should have told you something about moving. Got to move. You know what I mean? So, that's a good thing that you feed positivity. We uplift positivity. Don't listen to others. Get into your word and keep it moving. And then watch your showers of blessings come.
Good message.
Miss Rosie, Miss Rashida Rosie. I'm mixing the R and R all up. Mixing it all up.
Double R. So I can give up the name.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we appreciate you coming here today. The people think about it and sharing with us your journey and your pathway and how to stay happy, how to journey on, how to become set in silence and listen to what's being said to you. And I think that's all great. And we all have to learn to do that. And, your journey that you're taking is your journey. It's not nobody else's journey. It's your journey. So we just want to say again, you know what? We thank you for coming to People Think About It. You say you're a realtor, right?
Yeah.
If somebody want to buy a house here in Atlanta, how they get in touch with you?
If they want to buy a house here in Atlanta, you can contact me at r.rozier@kw.com. Or you can call me, which I don't know my number by heart.
Oh.
877. You got it. Okay, give me a second. I'm sorry. Did I send it to you, Dorshell? Okay.
This is why we have to get rid of modern technology sometimes. When, back in the days, you remember 20 numbers at the top of your head. Now, some people don't even know their own phone number.
I have a couple things going on. That's why I went
You have her phone number. What is it?
I have it. It's 678-288-4030.
Repeat that again.
678-288-4030.
And that's for R&R?
That is for Rashida Rozier, and I am with Kellen Williams.
So if you guys looking to purchase any property, houses, and you just want to do some real estate flipping and stuff, she's the lady.
Yeah.
She's the lady.
And I also own a consulting business. So if you're looking for IT employees in cybersecurity or IT to help bring your business to the next level, you can contact me at RNC.Resilient.MindConsulting.com.
Okay, do that have a phone? That has a phone number as well.
That has a phone number too. I will leave that one with you because I don't have that one readily available.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you for coming to People Think About It. Hey, if you want to listen to our latest episodes, we release a new episode every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. You can go to peoplethinkaboutit.com and listen to the episode on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. You can also reach out to us at peoplethinkaboutit@gmail.com. You can go to YouTube at peoplethinkaboutit.com if you want to look at us from a visual standpoint, and you can see us at peoplethinkaboutit.com. And we welcome all our guests. And remember, People Think About It. It's a place where you can feel free. It's a no judgment zone. It's just the idea. We want you to think. We want you to think. We're not opinionated. We just, we want you to think, and we want you to see from all viewpoints. So once again, thank you for listening to People Think About It, and we hope you guys keep listening every Wednesday at People Think
Be sure
About
to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends so that you never miss an episode. A new episode drops every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Thank you for listening.